It started as a joke. At least, that's what she called it, a prank. Something funny to lighten the mood. We had been married for 8 years, and she had always loved practical jokes. I had been warned about the time she put a fake spider in the freezer, the one that made me scream in front of her entire family. Or the time she convinced me our cat had been trained to fetch the mail. I laughed then. I laughed at all of it. I loved her humor, or at least I thought I did. But that night, humor turned into something darker. We were sitting at the kitchen table after dinner. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee, and she was scrolling on her phone, giggling to herself. "What are you laughing at?" I asked, curious. "Oh, nothing," she said, still smirking. "Just something funny I saw online." I didn't think much of it until she slid a stack of papers across the table toward me. "Here," she said casually. "Check these out. You'll love it." I picked up the papers. The first line made my blood run cold. Divorce papers, mutual agreement. I looked up at her, heart pounding. "What? What is this?" She laughed. A light, airy laugh that made it sound like the world was nothing but amusement. "Relax, it's a prank. I thought it would be hilarious if you freaked out for a second. You're always so serious about everything." I blinked, trying to process. A prank? Divorce papers? She expected me to laugh? My hands were shaking slightly, but I tried to let it go. "You're joking," I said. "Of course I am," she said, leaning back in her chair. "Just pretend you're freaked out. It's funny." I stared at the papers. My mind raced. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to believe it was a joke. But something in me, a whisper I hadn't paid attention to before, told me to read carefully. The signature line was there. My name, blank, waiting. On impulse, half out of disbelief, half out of an odd, dark curiosity, I signed. She laughed, hard, clutching her stomach, tears in her eyes. "You signed it. I can't believe you actually signed it." I looked down at the papers. The prank, she assured me, was harmless. But a strange, uncomfortable feeling had taken root in my chest. I felt exposed, vulnerable, unseen. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those papers, about how easy it had been to manipulate me, about how the person I loved could turn something so serious into a joke. I started noticing things I had ignored before. Late nights at work she didn't want to talk about, texts she left open on her phone, small lies that seemed inconsequential at the time. Weeks later, I found a message on her computer from a man I didn't recognize. Flirtatious, intimate. Evidence that she had been sharing parts of herself with someone else while we were supposed to be building a life together. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. The prank wasn't a prank. It was a test. A way to see how far she could push me, how much she could get away with. And maybe, in some way, it was a warning I hadn't understood until too late. I confronted her, calmly, quietly, not with anger, not with screaming. I asked her about the message, about the late nights, about the lies. She laughed at first. "It's nothing," she said. "You're overreacting." I handed her the divorce papers, the ones I had signed for fun. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw something real. Fear. You signed them," she whispered. I nodded. "Yes, and I've decided I'm keeping them." She begged, cried, tried to manipulate me, tried to twist the story, but I didn't budge. The joke was over. The betrayal was clear. A week later, the papers were filed. I moved out. She stayed behind, stunned, like the world had flipped upside down and she had no idea how to catch herself. In the months that followed, I rebuilt quietly. Friends, work, a small apartment that was mine alone. No pranks, no manipulation. No one telling me that my feelings, my trust, my life were up for amusement. Sometimes I think about that night at the kitchen table. The laugh, the casual shrug, the way she thought it was funny to see my life, our life, treated like a joke. I realized something crucial. Betrayal doesn't always come with confrontation. Sometimes it's hidden in humor. Sometimes it's wrapped in a smile. Sometimes it's subtle, almost invisible, until it shatters everything. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't fight. I signed, I recognized, and I walked away. And in walking away, I found something she could never take from me: my dignity, my clarity, and my freedom.